Good evening, everyone. Nice, huh? Hi, Keith. Nice to see you here. Great to be with you all this evening. Thank you for coming out on a cold and dark evening again. I'm looking forward to the summer. Anyone else? Yeah, I think we deserve it now, don't we? Although I have heard that it's meant to be snowing soon. But I feel like it wasn't a reliable source. I feel like it was Emmanuel. So it could mean anything. But anyway, it's good to join here together today to hear from the Word of God, isn't it? So I was struggling on what to speak to you guys on for a while. And so I wrote like 2 or 3 half different preaches. And then it ended up, I know, Keith's like, wow, impressive. But anyway, I ended up just like scrapping them all because I was like, I just don't feel like that's what I'm meant to be speaking on this evening. So I went back to God. Good place to go, isn't it? And I said, okay, what do you want me to speak on? What is it that I'm meant to be sharing this evening? And so I really felt like the topic that I'm meant to be like speaking to you about today is spending time in God's presence, and then specifically looking at Mark 1 verse 35. So if you have your Bibles, get ready, turn to it, because we'll be looking at that. But I just want to give you a quick context, a quick background to the verse in Mark 1. So the chapter explains a time in Jesus' life likely occurring in the early weeks or months of his ministry. And so verse 1 to 13, we read about Jesus baptizing and being tested by Satan. And then verse 14 and 15, Jesus is preaching. What am I on now? 16 to 20, Jesus calls his followers. Verse 21 to 28, he drives out impure spirits. Verse 29 to 34, we see him healing. Verse 35 to 37, which is what we're looking at today, he prays in a solitary place. And then verse 40 onwards to verse 45, he heals a man with leprosy. So that's kind of just like an overview of that chapter. But throughout this chapter, Jesus, as you can see, he engaged in the miraculous. He stood strong on temptation. He evangelized and so many more things. And so as I'm reading it, I can come to look at the life and ask the question, what are all these things that we can learn from Jesus? How does he preach? How does he withstand temptation? How does he evangelize? But I was drawn to that verse tucked among it all, which is verse 35, and I think that is key to it all. So we're going to be reading Mark 1, verse 35. So why don't you read it out loud with me? It's good to read scriptures, so let's go. Jesus prays in a solitary place. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. It's a good verse, isn't it? I say that about every single verse I preach from, because they're all good, aren't they? I couldn't say otherwise. But there's so much to pick out of this verse. Like, it's only a small one, but there's so much we can dive into. But in true training to be a pastor fashion, I obviously had to pick 3 points, didn't I? Because I've been taught by some of the best. So these are, have I got them on here? Oh, I've given you a teaser. Jesus got up in the morning. Jesus got away from distraction. And Jesus got alone with God. So firstly, Jesus got up in the morning. You know my style. Turn to the person next to you. Jesus got up in the morning. You might not have a person next to you. Just shout at me if not. Jesus got up in the morning. So the passage, it begins by explaining how Jesus got up really early in the morning whilst it was still dark. And now I don't know about you, but I'm really not a morning person. So naturally, if I don't have to get up early, like if I don't set an alarm, I'm like an 11 a.m. kind of girl. Anyone else? Yeah. Oh, clearly just me. I'm the only lazy one in the room. Thanks. Yesterday, though, I haven't done this in a while, but I actually slept until like 1 p.m. It was crazy. I've not done that since having a job. I don't know what happened. Clearly Friday night youth took it out of me. But anyway, yeah, I'm not a get up whilst it's still dark outside kind of girl. But recently, I've been leading the Tuesday 7 a.m. prayer mornings. Some of the gang are in the room. But anyway, it's winter time. It's dark outside when we begin these. And now, to begin with, when Keith asked me to lead these, I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot getting up in the morning. And believe me, it's still a struggle. Those guys would know when I don't have my camera off and my voice is a little bit croaky on Zoom, it's still a bit of a struggle getting up at that time. However, I believe that there's something so special about seeking God early in the morning as the first thing that we do. We should set our eyes a gaze on Jesus from the get-go of our day. When we fall in love with someone or something, we want to be around them constantly, don't we? Oh, great. No one wants to, yeah. But they're the first person we want to see when we wake up and the last person we want to see when we go to sleep. But let me encourage you to fall in love and adore Jesus so much that you're so desperate to wake up with him and be in his presence and spend time with him. We're called to have a childlike faith. And I know when I was younger, I'd be super annoying. I'd run into my parents' room like really early in the morning and I'd wake up and I'd just want to be with them. And so let's approach God like how a child approaches their parents in the morning, crying out to them and wanting to be with them. You know, when we meet up with friends, or maybe we've got a hair appointment, or maybe a doctor's appointment, something like that, we book that in and we show up. We show up because it would be rude to ditch at last minute, and because we respect the other person's time. And so I wonder, why do we sometimes ditch God? We need to set aside time for him. Let's not ditch him at last minute because sometimes we're too lazy to wake up, or maybe because other plans sound more interesting. Because Jesus is already close. We just need to wake up and we just need to open our eyes. You know, Jesus, he would have got tired a little bit like us. You know, I'm sure there would have been times when he would have been like me, wanting to sleep until 1 p.m. in the afternoon. You know, he was human as well. He would have said, let's just stay in bed a little bit longer. But he got up. He was self-disciplined. And so it wasn't just Jesus who woke up early in the morning. This happens throughout Scripture. So in Genesis 19, verse 27, Abraham, he got up to check on the destruction of Sodom. Genesis 21, verse 14, he then woke again to send away Hagar. Moses, he rose early in Exodus 8 and 9 to present himself before Pharaoh. Joshua, he rises early in Joshua 6 when he takes on Jericho. Gideon in Judges, he rises early to pursue the army of Midian, and Samuel did the same in 1 Samuel when confronting Saul. Likewise did David when visiting his brothers on the battlefield before he faced Goliath. Now, I could go on with examples all the way through the Bible, but let me tell you that these guys woke up to spend time with God and to be in his presence. And so when something really matters, we wake up for it, don't we? You know, if maybe we have someone's birthday party or a football match or something, we get up for it. Are those 10 to 20 extra minutes in bed truly worth it? The first thing that we do in the morning really says a lot about what our priorities are. Even the Son of God had to prepare himself for the day ahead. And if he needed that moment, how much more do we need that moment? We must be foolish to think that we can do life on our own. And so Jesus got up in the morning. Secondly, Jesus got away from distraction. People around you, Jesus got away from distraction. I see destruction down the front. Okay, so did you know the average amount of time that a Christian spends praying a day is only 5 minutes? 5 minutes, that's mad, isn't it? But I wonder what else can we do within 5 minutes? So the same amount of time that maybe the average Christian would spend praying, we could also unload the dishwasher, I guess depending on how quick you are at it. I'm probably about 5 minutes. You could boil the kettle, or maybe you could watch adverts on YouTube if you don't press skip. But then we wonder, why do we feel so distant from God? Why in our day and age are we so distracted that 5 minutes is all that we feel like we can give up? Me and Kit have been reading the Bible, Genesis to Revelation, although Aaron would say listening to the Bible. It depends on how the day is going, I'll be honest with you. We'll try and do half reading, half listening. But the Bible, Genesis to Revelation, within a month. And now I'll be completely honest with you. There's been some times when it's been a struggle. I've slacked a bit. Kit has actually finished the Bible plan. I've still got a couple of days to go. I'm being honest and open with you right now. But the main thing that I have taken away from this Bible plan is that busyness and distraction are no excuse. I used to say I don't have time, or I'm too busy, or I'm too tired. But let me tell you that if I want to make time, then I will find the time. I replace my TV time, my evening time, my phone time with God time instead. Tim Alford, who is the head of Limitless, which is what our youth group and our kids group are a part of, he says this: I will spend time with God alone before I pick up my phone. On average, people pick up their phone 58 times a day. You lot have probably already done it about 3 times within this preach as well. But I can guarantee you my Bible is not picked up 58 times a day. Anyone else? It's a lot of times. The greatest threat to faith today is not hedonism, but it's distraction. And so don't let distraction or busyness rob you from your faith or spending time with the Lord. The passage says that Jesus got up. He left the house. Jesus got away from distraction. He got away from the distraction of noise from other people. And he went to that solitary place to be silent before his Father. Sometimes we just need to be quiet. Sometimes we just need to put our lives on airplane mode and draw near to him. You know, it's not a new thing that distractions might get in the way. This has been a thing for years. So Matthew 6, verse 6 says this: But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Go into your room and close the door. Here, Jesus, he's reminding us that our prayers in life, they're not to impress other people. Our prayers are to be directed to God and not to man. Jesus tells us to go someplace where we can be alone, someplace quiet without distraction. Maybe you need to find that place where you can go and get away from distractions. Maybe that is your bedroom, or maybe if you live with someone, then you need to stick a sign literally on your door saying, like, don't come in, this is me and God time. Maybe it's a walk outside, or maybe it's literally just putting your phone completely off in the other room. Jesus got away from distraction. And finally, Jesus got alone with God. So Jesus, he went to this solitary place. This word solitary means to be somewhere that's secluded, unfrequented, or a lonely place. And I love this quote from an American pastor called Craig Rochelle, which says, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. The people you're hanging out with today are shaping the person you'll become tomorrow." The more time we spend with people, the more we mold into them. And it's like with married couples. You've probably noticed it with like Keith and Barbie. The more couples hang out with each other, the more they adopt each other's mannerisms, don't they? And I'm sure Kit is so looking forward to adopting some of mine. What a lucky guy. But similarly to this, we need to be spending time alone with God so that we become more like him. Let's make God our best friend and the first person we turn to, rather than just a tick box exercise. Now I wonder, with the people around you again, if you could spend a day with any celebrity, who would it be? Okay, shout some out at me. Eddie? Who? Should I know who that is?
He was the manager of Liverpool until...
Oh, right. That's why I don't know who that is. Anyone else? Martin Luther King? Who? Should I know who that is as well?
Yeah. Denzel Washington.
American? Yeah, okay. Washington. Oh, I'm only... I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. Why could you guys not have just shouted people like Justin Bieber out at me? I'm used to the youth shouting stuff like that at me. I'm not used to these big names, okay? But anyway, popular answers online said they'd like to spend the day with Princess Diana, Albert Einstein, Martin Luther King, Freddie Mercury, Marilyn Monroe, Barack Obama, and Daniel Craig. What a dinner party. Anyone else want to go? Sorry, there wasn't the Liverpool guy on there. But anyway, now a lot of these people were unlikely to spend the day with or meet. But the exciting news is that we can spend the day with Jesus. He isn't like these celebrities who either have passed away or are distant or I don't know who they are. But Jesus, he actually invites us every day to spend the day with him. We don't need a ticket. We don't need to pay money. We don't need to queue up. But he wants to spend time with us alone. Jesus got alone with God. Jesus spoke consistently to him because they had a relationship. And so let's speak to God consistently about the little things so that it's easy to speak to him about the big things. And now this is all well and good saying this. However, it needs to be something that we put into practice. We need to build a routine. And so, say if you're trying to get fit and healthy, you go to the gym. I assume I don't go to the gym, but I think that's where you go. So you get up, you go to the gym, you get your gym gear on, and you get yourself to the gym to work out. And so only then will you begin to see change. We need to be intentional with our prayer life too. 2 weeks in average is considered a short period of time for forming a new habit. And so we need to stick at it. We need to make our prayer life a routine habit. Jesus got alone with God. And so I'd love for you to take away from this that prayer is and should be a priority. This old saying is great, which says, 7 days without prayer makes 1 week. 7 days without prayer, it makes 1 week. It's like eating. If we stop eating or if we rarely eat, then our health will suffer. We'll become unwell and we'll get sick. We'll be unable to face the day ahead. Likewise, with our prayer life, if we rarely or never pray, then our spiritual health will suffer too. We will become weak. We won't be dependent on God and will instead try and take on life's challenges on our own. I wonder if your prayer life has slipped to the bottom of your to-do list. We're going to spend some time in prayer in just a moment. And now, at the best of times, you all know me, I don't like to preach for too long. However, this time round, it's actually been done intentionally. So whilst, yes, listening to the word of God, it's good, it's great, let me remind you that prayer and worship is not just a warm-up to the preacher or a tag-along at the end. So let's spend some time in prayer and in worship now. Jesus got up in the morning. Maybe as we respond, you need to physically get up. Maybe you need to literally leave your seat and go pray somewhere else. Jesus got away from distraction. Maybe you need to take your phone out of your pocket, put it all the way over on the other side of the chairs. Maybe you need to move from the person next to you because they're really distracting and annoying, I don't know. Jesus got alone with God. This is your alone time with God. You know, we've got such a big space. Go and get alone with him. And so let's come before God now and do this. Let's get up, let's get away from distractions, and let's get alone with him. Should we do that now?